Good morning, everybody. Welcome. We're going to do this live today, which I have never done. 66 episodes we've done of this show, and I've never done them live. Let me get this out on Discord. And then I can actually talk worth a damn. Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning, good morning. Wait a little bit as people trickle in, see who's awake at this hour. I'll get this open on my phone so that I can properly watch the chat, and I need to figure out why suddenly I've got notifications coming in from that account to my email nonstop. I don't know. All right, that's open on my phone so that I can see chat properly. It's gonna run ads as it should. All right, everybody, welcome to episode 67 of Monday Musings. Should I also get this out on Twitter? I should. That and on Facebook. Mm. All right, we're out officially on all the places. Welcome. Good morning. It's 7 a.m. on a Monday morning. It is June 6th, 2022. I have crazy cats. I just did a YouTube short a few minutes ago. This is Luke. Luke is being very relaxed this morning. Come here, Luke. No. He's often the most relaxed of the pair. He's definitely the more timid. He still hides under the bed in the other room. Um, he might attack my hand here in a minute. He's moving a little bit. Um, oh, there he goes. Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it? He's a good boy. Oh, here comes Leia. She's gonna want to come be naughty. I just put a YouTube short up a second ago of Leia because she's got the zoomies. She's calmed down a little bit this morning. No, there she is. She's calmed down a little bit. But I got a short of her like she was going crazy for like 10 minutes in here. I had to put him in here this morning because Chris is cleaning the house, and she was putting her chickens outside and everything else. So there was the doors open, and she's in and out. And Leia, Luke doesn't like to go outside very much. He'll go outside occasionally, but he's very timid. The slightest noise or anything will make him want to run back inside. And if the door's closed, while he's outside, he'll sit there at the door and cry. Whereas Leia will go out there and she wants to go exploring all over the place, and she'll follow Chris and I if we're out there doing yard work. And Chris doesn't like to watch the cat while she's doing yard work. She prefers I need to be focused on my yard work. I don't have to deal with the cat, so I don't want to be distracted. So can you please just watch? And I have no problem. I love my babies. So they're in here this morning with the sheet on the bed because Leia was being naughty and wanting to go outside and play. So I put her in here, and then she got the zoomies, and I got a good YouTube capture of that a second ago. Um, so I put that up on YouTube Shorts. So we'll promote that here in a little bit. In the meantime, they're getting on the desks now. We had the last 2 nights in a row we've woken up to them up here on the desks, like walking across laptops and behind the TV and monitors. And that's not a good thing because we got way too much equipment and we live out in the boonies and it's not stuff that's easy to replace. So we're gonna have to start being a little more strict about being on watch duties with them. So what's up, everybody? Good morning. Episode 67 of Monday Musings. This is the show where I talk about life, love, travel, all these other things. This is my personal vlogs face. Normally, I pre-record these. We've been doing this for over a year now. Um, I've done 66 episodes, and they've always been pre-recorded. I usually pre-record them on a Saturday or a Sunday and release them on the Monday morning. Um, I got the sniffles this morning a little bit, so if I sniffle a little bit, I apologize. My sinuses have been acting up. The weather here is crazy right now. It was the rainy season started. It rained for like 9 days in a row, and then we had no rain the last 3 days. Today's gonna be another sunny day. It's gonna get up to 98 degrees today, Fahrenheit, 36 Celsius. It's gonna be a hot day today. But then tomorrow the rain's supposed to start again, and we're gonna have another week of rain. So if you're new here, welcome aboard. Again, this is my personal space, so a lot of what I do here on YouTube is obviously gaming related or pop culture related. So as the channel has been growing, I've been doing lots of show reviews, book reviews. I'm doing the Mondays in Middle Earth show, which by the way airs today at 11 a.m. Central. Today is the last episode covering the Fellowship of the Ring. I finished Fellowship of the Ring last night, actually day before yesterday on Saturday I finished it. And now we're moving on to the Two Towers. So we've done The Hobbit, the Fellowship of the Ring. Now we're doing the Two Towers. We still got to do the rest of the Two Towers, the Return of the King, and of course the Silmarillion as we lead up to the Rings of Power so that we can continue ridiculing? Analyzing, that's a better word, right? Wink, wink, wink. We're analyzing the show. Um, I better pick that up. That's Christina's bag. Here, honey. Leia, I need to get that baby. Can I please have that? I don't know how that's in here or why it's on the floor, but that's Christina's bag for her errands. And I know she's got to leave today to go do some stuff, so. You okay back there? Yes. Yes. Anyway, we're going to do this live today because I want to see what the metrics are like compared to a pre-recorded video in terms of how this gets promoted in the algorithm and so on and so forth. So welcome aboard for the experiment. If you are new here, welcome aboard. And of course, don't forget, if you haven't already done so, check all the other playlists out. There's a lot of stuff here. Check the Discord. Links are down below because we do have a lot of stuff going on with our gaming communities in various different games. And I'm going to be expanding a little bit more here on YouTube because obviously the big push right now is I am potentially going full time on YouTube. Um, we'll talk about that more in the episode. I need to actually pay attention to what I'm supposed to be talking about today. Where is my? There we go. Yeah, let's start off with a Kitten Fundraiser. So, um, for those of you who have been following these episodes, when we moved in on March 15th, a couple days after we moved in, um, we had a cat show up. And I thought she was pregnant, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll definitely feed you, and street cat, I'll give you food and water." And so we started giving her food and water, and she was like accustomed to humans, but very timid in some regards. Like when she first showed up, um, she was, as we say in Spanish, cariñoso, loving and very affectionate and wanting attention, but she was also skinny and like with a belly, and so I was like, she's obviously hungry. And but she was also afraid, like if you raised your hand, like with the back of your hand to her too quickly, if you like raised your hand like this, she would cringe. And then when Chris and I were like giving her food, like when we were doing the tuna, we would take a spoon to get the tuna out of the can, and if she saw the back of the spoon, she would cringe. So she'd definitely been hit by people before. Um, Probably, and if I had to guess, because most people here don't like cats and they just view cats as a nuisance. There's 15, 20 street cats out in the woods behind our place, just abandoned feral cats. And people will give cats scraps, but if they get too close to a table or something, they'll totally hit the cat, beat the cat, kick the cat, so on and so forth. And so she was very much afraid, of fast motions with the back of your hand or with a spoon. And she's over that now. Like it took us a few weeks to get her past that until she realized that she could absolutely trust us. But we started off giving her food and water, and it was just her coming up outside, right? And then after about, you know, a week, she was coming inside. But after a few days, I noticed that her tits had been nursed on. So I was like, oh, she's got babies somewhere. And so for a couple of weeks, we were feeding her, and she was poking her head in the kitchen and kind of coming in and wandering around. And then Chris figured out that she had kittens in this abandoned house in the forest behind us. And a couple weeks went by, she was coming in, hanging out more and more and more, as cats do. And then eventually, she was taking naps here. Okay. Well, one night, somehow, we still don't know how, because normally she would leave every night at like 6:30, and we wouldn't see her until the next morning. And one night when Chris was closing up the house, apparently Mama Cat slept inside here. And we woke up the next morning and Dora, as we named her, was inside the house. And I woke Chris up and was like, "What the hell? How did the cat get in?" And all the windows were closed, all the doors were shut. Like, there's no way the cat could have gotten here. She had to have slept in here last night somehow. And like 5 minutes later, I heard meowing outside. And I don't remember which one of these it was, but one of them had like followed her scent and found and realized that Mama was in the house, or maybe he heard her crying. I don't know. But they were like, "Oh, well, now we have a kitten," and it was completely feral, and we had to catch it. And I got bit. I put a that was an accident bite, not for that, but we caught it without incident, put it in a big box, and I was trying to give it food, and it got all sorts of crazy when it smelled the food. And after it got over its nervousness, it went to chomp the food, and my finger was too close, and I totally took two fangs that went in, and it was quite nasty. And then I was like, "Oh shit, rabies," because you never know with outside cats. Shouldn't be a problem with babies. Anyway, then like a couple hours later, she disappeared again and came back like an hour later. And I wish to hell I would have had my phone camera on, because when she was coming back, she was calling meow meow meow, and this little kitten was following her through the woods with its little tail up, just like, "Where's my mommy taking me? But mommy's calling me, so I'm going." And she brought the other baby here, so we adopted these two, Luke and Leia, and they're no longer feral, but he still doesn't like Chris completely. Like, when she's cleaning house or something, he will run and hide, and he'll often like look at her, and like his tail will be between his legs. He's still kind of scared of her. Um, anyway, then we realized she was pregnant. The vets wouldn't do a late term spay slash abortion. So we just let her go to term. But she had her babies in her bathroom 2 weeks ago. And anyway, long story short, because I'm already rambling way too long about the cats. For those of you who've already heard this story before, on Thursday, well, last week we decided we were going to do a fundraiser and just see if anybody wanted to contribute to helping us take care of the street cats, because that was not expected when we moved in. Like, it's not part of our budget. It wasn't part of what we planned to do, because we spent a chunk of change to buy this place, and we bought it for cash. So we don't have a mortgage, we don't have rent anymore, anything like that. But still, having several cats became an expense that we didn't plan for, and we're living off of savings right now. So my last contract was in January. We moved in March, got here. April was buying things for the house, getting furniture and everything else. And April and May were both that, and also getting the internet squared away and just getting. And it wasn't until like mid-May that we were back into our normal routines and being able to dedicate full time to everything, and like go back to, working on content creation and everything else, and even being in a position to think about work stuff. So in the meantime, that became a budget issue, and it was like, well, I'm not too ashamed to say, "Hey, folks, we want to help out. These are street cats. They're rescue cats. We're getting them off streets." No one in this town, in this little pueblo where I live, it's a small town, about 30,000 people here in southeast Mexico, where we're based at. We do split our time between here and the United States. My brother's ranch in Missouri, we go up there, spend about half the year. We spend the other half of the year down here, but right now, because of pandemic stuff, we've just stayed here in Mexico for a little bit. We were supposed to go up this summer, and we still may go up this fall, for harvest season, because we got blackberries to harvest for our blackberry brandy and wine venture. But that's July. We'll see. In any case, they were not in the picture, and taking care of these two was okay. We're like, we can make that work. We can squeeze that into the budget. Um, Mama cat is not a big deal, because if we can get her spayed, she can come and go as she wants. So that was less of a concern, because she's a hunter, so she'll hunt stuff. There's lizards, and she's constantly, while she was pregnant, even was constantly bringing stuff for these two. She would bring these 12-inch lizards up to the back door still half alive, and be like, "Here, babies." You know, United States, everyone's all like, "Cutesy, cutesy, my mouse. Here's a mouse." My cat's gonna bring the babies a little mouse. And here she's bringing lizards, like freaking dinosaurs. So, um, good times. In any case, she had 5 kittens 2 weeks ago, and Chris and I went, "Oh crap." Now we want to feed those and water those and get them their vaccinations and worm them and everything else. But they need homes. Like we can't have 8 cats in this house. There's no way. But also, cat litter's not cheap, and you got to get cat boxes, and you got to get the worming medicine, and you got to get all this other stuff. So it was like we need to just do a fundraiser, and we did. So last week we decided to ask for a fundraiser, and we had already planned already. My brother and myself, Nathan, Napalm, Sparrow, and Maduros, we were going to do we've been starting to play World of Warcraft, and so we had already planned to do an all-night session on Thursday last week, just to kick off things, and it was our first multi-stream event with that game, and I decided that I was going to run the fundraiser during that. I was like, let's see if we can raise 300 bucks. We didn't raise 300 bucks the first night. We raised like $112 or $115, I think, during the live stream. But then people really came in over the next 24 hours after that, and in the days since. And as of this morning, I got another donation yesterday, which was the last one I think we've gotten. Um, we got another $50 donation on YouTube, and we raised a total of $490 for the Kitten Fundraiser, which is fucking awesome. So that's a huge shout out to the community for coming together for that and saying, hey, yeah, we absolutely want to help out with the cats and everything else. And that's all been YouTube community members, like, and our friends and our multi streamers and everything else. So thanks to everyone for helping out with that, because we basically we looked at that and said, how much do we need to get these 3 spayed and neutered, and then take care of those other 5 until we can hopefully find them homes. Um, and we estimated roughly 300 bucks. It may be more, it may be less, but it's roughly 300. I doubt it'll be less. It'll probably be more, especially if we have to care for them longer. One thing I've learned now about being in the boonies that I'd forgotten is like, if you're in the city, it's really easy to find people who want to adopt animals and everything else. And here in the countryside, not everyone wants cats here. Most people just want dogs. Well, a lot of people just view cats as an expense. They don't look at the pros of having a cat. Like they'll keep rodents. Like here's an example. Our next door neighbor is complaining all the time about how she's got mice in her house, right? She's got mice. We don't have mice. I also don't have an insect problem in my house. They eat mice, they eat insects, they eat salamanders. Like we don't have those issues. We did have when we first moved in. We had a big salamander problem. Because this is an older house and we're having to modernize it, and the people who lived here before were not exactly the cleanest of people. Um, and it's been a project to get this place livable. You know, I'm sure a lot of people would freak out if they saw, the conditions of some of the parts of the house, but it is what it is. Like this is a fixer upper as we build towards a future here, and it was also dirt cheap. That's why I'm not going to complain about it. We are documenting that process over at Marginal Boundaries, the YouTube channel. I've not put out any videos yet, but I would say go over there and follow along, because I am going to be starting to release here, probably in July, as we start to talk about the moving process, moving here, buying the house, what's it like buying a house here, because you know, I have perspectives on that because I am an outsider, so to speak, even though I do have permanent residency here. The Marginal Boundaries was always about, traveling and living in Mexico when I was in Cancun and the Riviera Maya, and selling the guidebooks and everything else. So we'll get back to that eventually. Um, in any case, the fundraiser was crushed. So if you've been following along like YouTube Shorts and the community posts on here on YouTube, you'll see lots of information about that stuff. So thanks everyone. Lucas is falling asleep, and his sister is also falling asleep on the floor. So I think I can relax a little bit and not have to keep an eye on them. So the fundraiser was crushed. So I owe a huge debt of gratitude to everybody on YouTube, the community, for pitching in for that, and being willing to contribute to that, because you know that was an unexpected thing. Now suddenly having 8 cats on top of Christina's chickens. Um, the community came through, and we are in the clear. It looks like. I think we have enough cash to care for these babies for the next couple months until we can get them homes. And I think we have two of them already housed. Um, to Christina's sister and I think maybe her niece. There's a taxi driver who Chris met the other day who said that he wants a cat, so maybe a third one if that guy comes through. Um, you never know. Chris wants to keep one of them, and I was like, we already have two. I don't know. She went from hating cats to now she's like, oh my god, I want to keep this little baby. If you were on the live stream, I think on Saturday morning, Chris totally brought it here on the live stream. Hey Sparrow, what's up? Chris totally brought that little baby on the live stream and was like, "Look, everybody, this is the one I'm adopting." And I'm like, "That's the first I've heard of it." Now suddenly we're adopting one of the five. So, in any case, I want to say thanks to everybody for helping out with that, and we crushed the fundraiser goal. Um, I, I suppose if people still want to contribute, they can. But I think we're covered at the moment, um, unless some sort of unexpected medical expenses come up. Um, we are about to the point where the babies are going to need their second litter box now because they're trying to get out of the box they're in right now. It's actually kind of funny. They're trying to get out. Mama doesn't want them out. Chris actually picked one of the babies up and put it out on the kitchen floor, and Dora immediately ran to the baby, picked it up, and put it back in the box. She's like, they're not ready to be out yet, but they're trying to get out because we just have a big cardboard box, if you've seen it in the shorts or the pictures. And it's probably 6 inches, 6 inches high around the edges. Um, but they're able to climb up, and their head, like their necks and heads are above the edge of the box. Their eyes are fully open, and so they're like, "What's beyond the box? Like, what can I explore?" It's quite entertaining. They are, somewhat used to us, but even we had the other day I was in there petting them and everything else, and one of them, and Mama wasn't with them. They were by themselves. One of them was not happy. Like I'm petting the other ones and they're all being loving and affectionate, and this one was looking up at me and she was just doing the whole like baby kitten. She can't, she can't articulate that she's scared and pissed off. So it sounds like she's panting and she's just going, and then finally she did the spit and she went. And I was like, okay, you're hissing at me right now is what you're doing. You're attempting to hiss at me. You're attempting to say, hey, big hand thing in my box. You're not my mommy. Leave me alone. But it was so funny the way she was doing it because she was like, and then she finally got it out. It finally like came out of her system where she's like, it just made me laugh. Um, so yeah, baby kittens. So thanks everybody for that. What else is on my agenda? I got a lot of stuff to talk about this morning, which is why I want to do this live. Sparrow's here. I better have coffee, Sparrow. I'm on my second cup now. So I'll say this: I'm already watching the numbers. This is why I wanted to do this experiment. I wanted to do one of these live, just hang out with people as opposed to pre-recording them. I got 8 concurrent viewers right now, which is awesome. Thanks for those of you who are here live. And the views are already what I would have gotten within the first like 30 minutes of one of these going live, and we're probably 30 minutes in. We're 20 minutes in. So the numbers are looking about the same as a pre-recorded, but I get live interaction with people. So we'll continue onwards. This will definitely be a longer episode than the ones I usually do. I'm on my second Sparrow. It's almost gone. Um, so we talked about the fundraiser, talked about the cats a little bit. Um, let's talk. Let's talk. Project Drammond stuff a little bit. I normally save that for last, but we're gonna talk about that first this morning. Because it's big. We have big news on all that front. So we published the tabletop book last week. On last Tuesday. So in between last week and this week, we published. So we were supposed to publish June 1st, and I was able to get it done a day early, which is cool. So we published our tabletop book, the setting, and the first module is within that. So For those of you who've been following along for a while, you know what I'm about to talk about. This is more for the new people, but hey, this is also just, somebody might not have caught up in the last 3 weeks. That's been going on since March of 2021. So we're 15 months into that project. So it was really, really cool to finally be done with that because it is a huge weight off my shoulders. Like there's a lot going on with that project with the world of the Weave and the Void. We started it off. Yes, Project Dramond equals Weave and Void. Yes, absolutely. Previously called Project Dramond. Um, um, so there's a playlist here on my YouTube channel of Project Dramond videos, and we did like 115 videos before we branded as the Weave and the Void. Um, so getting that finished was a huge thing because there's still the book series is ongoing. Like I gotta actually work on chapter 20 today. Like chapter 20 is due on Thursday. I may push it out till next week. Um, we'll see. Only because I have a lot of stuff I still need to get prepped for Sunday night's live stream campaign because we're also kicking off the live stream campaign. So I may actually push chapter 20 to next week. But we'll see. It depends on what I get done this week. I got a lot of stuff, a lot of irons in the fire still. Um, so we got the tabletop book out the door. The setting book is out there. So for those of you who like Dungeons and Dragons and you like experimenting with homebrew campaigns and you want to check out a new setting and some cool artwork from people like Nathan Napalm and Sparrow's here. Sparrow's daughter did some creature artwork for us, some of which is forthcoming. Um, but there's one piece in the book in particular. Um, so Chris did most of the artwork. Nathan Napalm did races and character art for the classes. Sparrow's daughter Becca has a piece in there. Um, that's out. It's done. It's off my shoulders. Obviously, I will be adding to that book over time. As an example, we're creating new characters for this live stream campaign that we're kicking off next Sunday at 8 p.m. Central on the Weave and the Void Twitch channel, starting June 12th, and every Sunday thereafter at 8 p.m. Central. In the process of creating these characters for the campaign, we're sort of taking the existing classes that are there and saying, well, maybe people want to experiment with something different. Or maybe people are going to push the boundaries of what's there. Because here's a good example. Sparrow's here in chat. So she's creating a warden class, which is like a pet class. And I had in my mind, here's what I want the warden to do. But then as we've been creating the character, Sparrow has lots of questions. What about this, that, and the other? And that has led to, okay, that's a good idea. Maybe I can do this, that, and that. And so that class will continue to evolve as we're playing through the live stream campaign because I'll be able to see, questions will be asked. I'll have yes or no answers. I might be inspired by gameplay, and so that will evolve. As that evolves, I will add more information to the Warden class in the description within the guidebook, within the setting module. Not the setting module, but the setting handbook, the Adventurer's Guidebook. The same goes for Christina's character. Christina decided to roll like a pirate. Well, I don't have a pirate class, right? I have a rogue. So for all intents and purposes, she's playing a rogue, but she's wanting to become a sea elf ship captain. So is she a pirate or is she a swashbuckler? Like, what would that class be called? I don't want to call it a pirate because it's not a pirate. It's more like a ship captain, like a sea elf ship captain. But what is the class called? Is it a swashbuckler? Like, swashbuckler is in many different settings. So I don't know what that's going to end up being called. That class is not in the book. It's not. So I get to play around with it as Chris plays it and say, what is this going to end up being and how do I put that in the book? So as we play through the live stream campaign and as time goes on, I will be adding more stuff to these Adventurers Handbook, which eventually will get to the second edition or edition 1.1, then 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. So it's like a patch for your favorite video game. I will be patching the Adventurers Guidebook as we get more information into it, and eventually it will have more classes, more backgrounds, more information. But the base stuff is already ready to go. It's been on sale for almost a week now. So Sparrow says she has questions. There are many. That's fair. Um, live stream campaign is going to start next Sunday, which I already mentioned. Continuing to work on the book chapter. And then, of course, last week, Joey and I took advantage of a huge Unreal sale, and we purchased over $400 of assets for like 130 bucks. So we got a really big discount. We did expense report number 7. That's up on the Patreon page. So that just shows everyone how we spent the money and where we spent it. What did we buy? How much did we pay? How are we using your funds on Patreon? We've been doing those since we started the Patreon page. Every few months, like every 3 months or so, we'll do an expense report. This was number 7. We're 15 months in, so do the math on that. It's roughly every 2-3 months. So that's out. So the next step for Joey, Sunday's update, which was yesterday, we shared 3 screenshots of some new assets that have already been placed in. And that's his objective right now is to take a break from world building and putting new zones in and everything else, new scenes, I should say, and also take a break from all of the like it's grindy. It's a really grindy job to take all of the written descriptions and put them into the game and say this signpost has this when you hover over it, and this NPC has this when you hover over it, and this tooltip says this. So he's copy pasting, but plugging things into the game, and that can get repetitive and boring. So it's nice to step back and say, okay, cool. Now I'm gonna replace all the lamp posts today with the new lamps, and I'm gonna replace all the fence posts with the new fence posts that we have. So that's the kind of stuff he's working on right now. And then, of course, I still have a lot of dialogue to work on for that and everything else. So that'll continue to be worked on as we go through. His ear is twitching. He's like in a deep coma now. What's up next on the chat agenda? Artwork. Yeah, all right. We'll get to that in a second. All right, real quick, everybody. I'm gonna take a bio real quick, and then we'll come back. And I'm gonna get a slight little bit more coffee. Like I said, since I'm doing this live, this is going to be a longer episode. Instead of only being like 30 minutes, we'll probably go hour plus. So stick around. I will be back in a few minutes. Get ready for some music, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm doing my BRB thing. Stay tuned. All right, I've returned. We got more stuff to talk about. Let's look at the list. We're talking about artwork. So artwork, in terms of artwork, we've got. I mean, we haven't officially finalized anything else, but I can. I think I can say this. Oh, they just knocked a pillow down. I'll be right back. All right. She may end up jumping on me. We'll see if she jumps up here or not. She sometimes. Well, she wanted to steal my chair. Artwork. Oh yeah. We haven't officially finalized anything yet, but they're spying. I'm gonna be doing. Well, Nathan Napalm is gonna be doing a lot more artwork for us. Um, on the Weave in the Void. But I'm also gonna be doing stuff with him. And this is a lot of fun. Again, it's we haven't done any, no paperwork's in place. We have a meeting after this. I'm supposed to ping him. We're gonna talk about it more. But he did this cool thing last year. If you haven't watched it yet, he did the whole Lost Mine Offend Elver campaign as a choose your own adventure style on his YouTube channel with like 700 plus videos that were all different paths that you could choose, and you could it was all done with puppets. And he did all the voiceovers and everything else. Well, I do lots of voiceovers in my Lord of the Rings streams, my Lotro streams when I'm playing Lord of the Rings online. And he approached me the other day and was like, "Hey man, what do you think about, you know, artwork, and voiceovers and doing some sort of thing?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm totally on board for that. I love doing voiceovers, and he loves doing artwork." So, we're shooting the poop about that and ironing out all the details, and I'm really excited about it because I've always wanted to pursue some type of voice acting, but I've never had an outlet for that. I can't do puppets and I can't do animation and I can't do art. So for me, the ability to do voiceovers, there's never been a project I could work on where I could do voiceovers and other than when I play video games. If it's a game like Lord of the Rings Online and there's lots of dialogue, I can get into character and I can do the voices of those characters and that's my outlet. Um, so I can say that I don't think that's spoiling anything. We're working on something where I'm going to be doing voiceovers with him, and he's going to be doing more artwork for us. This ties back into the Patreon page, so I want everybody to be reminded about this. Um, Everybody's been hugely supportive of everything that we've been doing recently, and I have a huge debt to all the followers and fans. Since I mentioned that I wanted to start attempting to go, at least attempt to go full time on YouTube. Um, and I've been very open with everybody. I said I only need like 500 bucks a month to cover our basic expenses. So it's not like I'm not I don't need $10,000 a month like some people might need. And so like the month of May, we had like 8 new members on YouTube. We had 8 new members on Patreon. I know just on YouTube, and this is the gross before the YouTube takes a cut. We did over 300. We did like $311 on YouTube, in between advertising and super chats and stickers and everything else. So that's awesome. That's an upward trajectory, and if June continues that trend, then it very may well be by the end of June and July that we can consider full time for me being full time YouTube with full time game development, like just only working on game development and YouTube content creation and streaming, which would be really awesome. And everyone has been really supportive. I don't have it on top of this. There's not an overlay here, but as an example, I'm gonna pop this up for a minute just so that people can see it. Um, we did the Kitten Fundraiser, then we finished the fundraiser, and I turned around and said, "Hey, I want to start working towards full-time YouTube." We're only at June 6th, and people have already gotten us to like almost $200 for the month in terms of super chats and all this other stuff. That's pretty amazing. I've not updated this with the final tallies for advertising revenue, and we had a new member join yesterday. Um, Dashlock Dash joined yesterday as a member, and then so he hasn't been added to the total, and I haven't up. So there's an extra $5 or $6 that I can add to that total for that stuff, but it all adds up. So, we're pushing towards $500, and obviously the $500 goal is $500 gross. I actually need $500 net, but we're not going to worry about that at the moment. That's other things. But I want to say thanks to everybody because they've been pushing us this higher every day. And we had some really interesting ideas last night for promotions that we can do for like having an avatar where my beard grows longer the closer we get to the goal. I thought that was a really good idea. So we're gonna have to try to figure out how to make that happen. Anyway, I'll turn that off for the moment. What I want to say is that as part of what we're doing with Nathan, and also it's because Sparrow's here, and I want, we've talked about her daughter, doing more artwork for us and everything else. The big thing with the Patreon page is right now I only do chapters twice a month. So for those of you who like my work as a writer, that's where you can find all that stuff out is at the Patreon page for the Weave in the Void. So patreon.com/Wandering Hermits, because the Wandering Hermits are myself, my brother, and my wife. Everything we're doing outside of YouTube happens there. We do 3 updates every week. The Discord channel, the Discord server that we have was originally spun up just for that project. Now it has become this thing where it has a whole gaming community within it with all of our gaming operations within EverQuest, P99, World of Warcraft, Lord of the Rings Online. We have a gaming community section now. There's my personal section, Renfield's Refuge, at the bottom. So there's a lot more going on in that Discord server now than it was originally intended for, because it was originally intended to only house everything related to this project, and now it's a lot more. Baby, don't fall off, because that's what you just did a minute ago. Well, can you move a little bit? Come here. Here. That's what happened over here. You were on the pillow and you fell off, and the pillow fell on the ground. I know. Yeah, go sleep with your brother, or just get comfortable here. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. Um, so that Patreon page is we're gonna be working on building that up this year. Also because um, we want to bring Nathan more into the fold. And the idea is that once we get the Patreon page to $1,500 a month, I'll be doing 3 chapters, 4 chapters a month. So 1 chapter every week as opposed to only 2 a month. So instead of doing a chapter every other week, I'll do a chapter every single week because I'll be able to do way more. I'll be able to focus more on the Patreon page. And then once we get to $3,000 a month on the Patreon page, that's when we open up and say, okay, now we can have, because I have Nathan be a full-time contractor for us, and we're splitting that with him equally. 1/3 to my brother, 1/3 for Chris and I, 1/3 for Nathan. So everything we do through the Patreon page, I split because that's not for me only. That's for the business, and I don't get any of that right now. Like we don't see any of the money from the Patreon page because that has been going to pay Nathan and Becca, and also our Unreal assets. So like that expense report I talked about the other day, that was fully covered by our patrons. So thanks to everybody for doing that. And if you, for those of you who want to know more about that project, it's down in the links below. You can find that out. But on an artwork level, I can't draw. I can write. That's my gift. My gift is the gift of gab, and I'm a good writer. So, and I'm not tooting my own horn when I say that. I know I'm good at it because I've been able to make a living at it for since 2008. So it's been a while now. It's been a hot minute. I've been able to make a living as a writer. So I'm good enough to make a living at it. Let's just put it that way. And it's what I always wanted to do when I was growing up. I wanted to be a writer. And when I was able to finally crack that nut and make it happen, it was like, yes, I'm doing what I want to do as opposed to what I had to do to make the bills get paid. Because I hated working construction. I fucking hated it. So it was, I've never had a down day. I've never had a day where I've been down about the work that I do since 2008, because I get to do what I love for a living, and that's amazing. So layering video games on top of that with YouTube has just been sort of like icing on the cake. Um, so anyway, thanks to those of you for all the support and everything else. The Patreon's growing, the YouTube's growing. Um, that's all amazing. So thank you very much. And as far as the artwork goes, I'm really looking forward to seeing more artwork from Nathan and more creatures from Becca and stuff as we get into deeper into things. So if you also like artwork, make sure to pay attention to the Weave in the Void stuff in our Discord channel because there's a lot more artwork coming in the pipeline. I think the next thing Nathan's going to work on after this is going to be some artwork for the Kickstarter page because we are doing a Kickstarter later this year. But the cool thing about our Kickstarter is that the product is already out. Most people, when they run a Kickstarter, it's for a future project. It's like we have this idea for this thing, um, and now we want to produce it and we need your help. Well, we've already got the thing. It's not an idea, it's an actual product. It's already out in digital format. So the Kickstarter is for the physical versions. If you want a physical version, then you do this. Um, so we're working on the text for that now and like the idea for the tiers. Um, Probably have sort of an upgrade package for people who are existing patrons who have, a digital version of the book, that we might be able to agree to get them into the for a hardback version at cost as opposed to the full tier. We got lots of things we got to work on. So there's artwork coming for that, and then after that, there's going to be artwork for avatar packs on the Patreon page. So right now we have map packs that go along with the module and everything else, and then there's going to be some avatar packs for people that have digital avatars for their characters for their chosen VTT virtual tabletop programs. All right. What else is on the agenda here? I've talked about artwork and tabletop. Oh, I do got to talk about this. So, in the recent, part of me being a Star Wars fan, um, I'm just now getting back into shows. I got to catch up on all sorts of stuff because we were moving and everything else, and we had to get our internet squared away, and now we're back. And so I'm starting to catch up on all the shows that I missed watching. But rather than go back and try to catch up on everything, because I need to make sure that I can create content that's relevant to YouTube for the moment to continue increasing the revenue there. So I've been trying to cover episodes of stuff as they come out, and I'm a little bit behind because I got to do Stranger Things and The Boys, but I have been doing um, Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan show, because I love Ewan McGregor and I love his character of Obi-Wan Kenobi and everything else. But the toxic fandom in Star Wars, we talked about this in an episode last week of my Just Chatting, where I just hang out and chat with people. But I want to cover it again. Like, it blows my mind the racism that exists from a certain subsection of this fan base who thinks that it should only belong to, white boys. You know, it's just I see so many comments on the internet. I've gotten comments on my reviews of the show. Every time an episode comes out, I've been doing reviews of the episodes, and I've gotten comments on my reviews about her character is weak, her portrayal is shit, she's a shit actress, blah blah blah. I'm like, what are you on about? Like, she's not a shit actress. It's a cool part. What is your fucking problem? Like, I don't. Sorry for the f bomb, Sparrow. If you're listening to this out of headphones, I need to try to remember that. Like, what is your problem? Like, the you should not. It's so amazing to me how kids don't see color. Kids don't see race. They don't. And it's not even race because we are all of the human race. So let's just leave it at kids don't see color. Skin color and prejudice, much like religion, are things that children are taught by their parents or the people they are around. Because kids, when you're on a playground and kids, you've got kids just play together. Like, it doesn't matter the skin color or where the kids' parents were from. They just play together and they have fun and they're playing kickball and dodgeball and softball and baseball and in the playground. And yeah, you might have the occasional bullying that happens as kids start to grow up, and that's normal, by the way. Like, cats, animals, dogs, cows, all all creatures on planet Earth, bullying can happen within any of those ecosystems. Like, there's always going to be one who tries to stand out and like will kind of beat up the other ones and a little bit bigger and a little bit more energy, and so he's going to take that out on other people, and eventually At least in animal society, the bully will either eventually stop that or they'll get weeded out of the herd. It's the same thing in real life. Bullies will eventually get weeded out of the herd or they go to jail or whatever the case might be, in most cases. But apart from the natural instinct for bullying, which just crops up as hormones are coming into play and things, skin color does not enter into the picture until we are adults or at least teenagers because it's been taught to us. And so it makes me sad to think about all the fans of Star Wars whose parents obviously taught them to be that way because you don't learn that from other kids. You learn that from the people you're around the most when you're growing up, and that's going to be your family. So you're learning that behavior from your family. Um, and it just saddens me to think that there are people out there who would want to throw nasty names and nasty comments at an actress who's doing nothing more than what she was paid to do, which is portray a character. And if the showrunners have trusted that character enough to portray that part, then the fans need to learn to shut up and just enjoy the show. You're just here to watch it. You're not a showrunner. If you were somebody whose opinion was supposed to matter for who should or shouldn't be portraying an actor, you would be in a position where you would be doing the hiring and firing on a show, but you're not. You're just a viewer. So as a viewer, as a consumer of the content, people need to just relax. But I know it's empty words at this point, but it really does bother me because I am enjoying these shows and I'm enjoying having more Star Wars in my life. I'm enjoying having more Star Trek in my life. And we see there is a certain part of me that gets a little tired of sometimes shows will attempt to push a woke agenda. And it's very obvious when they do. That's why I've been on the Rings of Power thing because we have the executive producers coming out and specifically saying Tolkien's works were problematic because he was a man of his times. So his worldview didn't represent the worldview that we have today because his worldview was very limited and our worldview is very inclusive. So Tolkien's worldview is here. We need to expand that to include the worldview of today. The executive producers have literally said, you know, we're making the novel, we're writing the novel that Tolkien never wrote, and we want to make sure that we want to make sure that Middle Earth can be enjoyed by everyone. And so we're going to make the show as diverse as possible. That's not a bad thing to want to keep, but it at the point where you force it into the storyline, that's when it becomes an issue because now we're creating things that didn't exist in the original work just to satisfy the agenda. That's where I kind of get a little irritated. But other than that, I'm fine with, I have zero problem with uh, the LGBTQ plus community and characters. Like, go watch Sense 8. Sense 8 is an amazing show that celebrates transgenderism and homosexuality. It is also an amazing science fiction show. Amazing science fiction show from the Wachowskis, who did The Matrix and Cloud Atlas, which is an amazing film, and who both of those individuals, they were the Wachowski brothers at one point in time, and now they are both the Wachowski sisters. Like, their whole existence and everything they've done as filmmakers has been about transitioning. Absolutely cool with that. I love their work. I think they are amazing creators, amazing filmmakers, and amazing writers. They haven't ever tried to force something into something. They've just naturally written those types of stories because that's what their lives have been about. And so it's infused in their work because that's who they are. And if you can appreciate their work for that, it's natural. It feels natural. So when I see it being forced into something like Middle Earth, it feels awkward and everything else. And so you get a lot of people who are having this knee-jerk reaction to the wokeness, and they're automatically taking it out on all these other shows. So you're taking it out on Star Wars, and you're saying, "Oh, this is just Star Wars trying to be woke." Not, I don't see wokeness in Star Wars. I don't see anybody trying to force wokeness in Star Wars. I just see an amazingly talented black actress being hired to play a part. That part could be played by anyone. It could be played by an Asian person. It could be played by a black person, um, etc. I also agree with what Greg is saying in chat right now. In terms of Rings of Power, the racial diversity within Middle Earth was already there within the human races. The human, not the human race, but within the human race. We had skin colors in different sections of Middle Earth. But the issue is that they're forcing that diversity into the elves and the dwarves. And that was not, if you read Tolkien's original vision, like the elves are all fair skinned, blonde haired. Um, some of them had dark hair, but they're all fair skinned. The dwarves are not, you know, they're fair skinned. It is what it is. But with Moses Ingram in particular, I also see the same criticism from people who have been watching Star Trek Discovery. Because Star Trek Discovery has a transgender character on it and a gay character. And a lot of people have said that the only reason they have a gay character and a transgender character on Star Trek Discovery is because the writers are trying to force diversity down the throats of the Star Trek community. And I'm like, that's not true at all. Like, even though, think about this. George, is it Takei or Takai? I always forget how to pronounce his last name, but he's been gay his whole life, right? And he was very much a part of the original Star Trek show. He's an amazing older gentleman. Oh my. I love him. He's a funny character. He's a funny guy. And Roddenberry has come out and before he died had said that he wanted to have Zulu's character be openly gay, but he couldn't because at the time we didn't accept homosexuals as a society. So he wasn't able to have his character be gay in the original Star Trek, even though the actor was gay. And even though Gene Roddenberry had no problems with it, and Star Trek is supposed to be this world of acceptance, utopia, where it doesn't matter your race, your religion, your creed, everyone's accepted. And so I finally feel like, from a societal standpoint, we're able to have Star Trek be at a point um, where we are getting to see the Star Trek that could have been written in the 70s, but wasn't allowed to be written in the 70s because of where the showrunners were. Let me get this into Caracas. You're added to the group now. All right, sorry, I had to get Caracas into our group chat for our. We're planning our static group for EverQuest TLP is this. We're gonna talk more about that later, so stay tuned for that. But we're forming up a separate group chat because we're getting to the point where we're almost all level 50 on our main characters, and so we're starting to plan quests and gear grinds and what we need to go do to get the gear for the alts that we want, and then we're going to be switching over to the alts probably within the next week or two and start leveling up the next set of characters. I have never played a bard before. I'm really looking forward to that. More information on that later because I got to finish this statement, this mindset. Anyway, Star Trek Discovery. I think Star Trek Discovery is an amazing show, but yet you have the same type of people who are criticizing Moses Ingram for being black. They're criticizing a black actress playing the part of a Jedi Inquisitor. They're like, there's no way a black woman could beat Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it's like, I don't think you understand where Obi-Wan Kenobi is in his life right now, having not used the Force in 10 years. The Jedi are completely destroyed. Um, the morale is gone. The connection with the Force is gone. Like, they're no longer these mighty warriors. They are in hiding, trying to survive, cut off from the Force, you know, shadows of their former selves. No, Obi-Wan Kenobi is not fit to stand up to anyone at this moment, let alone Darth Vader. Which, by the way, Episode 3 was fire. I can't wait for Episode 4. Limited series. There's already rumors that a season 2 is coming, which would be really cool because I'm up for anything that Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. I'm so glad to see him back in the spotlight. He does not do enough. He is a brilliant actor who I think we need to see more of. So I'm really happy to see him back. He's going to be in the Ahsoka show. I'm happy for everything that Star Wars is doing. So the toxic fan base can just piss right off. And that goes for the Star Trek fan base too. I've been loving the memes that have been coming out from the Star Trek. Anson Mount, love this dude. As a human being, I think he's really cool. As an actor, I love him. Hell on Wheels. If you've never watched Hell on Wheels, go watch that show where he played Colin Bohannon, this like gunslinger turned railroad entrepreneur during the the building the railroads across the United States. It's such a good Western show. It was on AMC for like 5 seasons. Anyway, Anson Mount playing Captain Pike in Strange New Worlds, which I haven't started watching yet. I need to get caught up on that as well. He came out and made a big statement, because he's working with people on his various shows, like Discovery he was on. He's working with transgender and gay actors as part of the Star Trek universe, and he made a big statement about acceptance and everything else. And I was like, dude, every time you post something, I'm just like, fist bump, you are awesome. Um, Not like white power fist bump. Don't take that out of context. Like fist bump. Like, you, sir, are an awesome individual and you're celebrating humanity and you're celebrating actors and actresses of all colors, creeds, beliefs, sexual orientations, etc., being able to fulfill the roles. That's why I never understood the criticism of like Ian McKellen being an openly gay man and kicking ass as Gandalf, right? And yet people were like, "Oh, it's a gay man playing Gandalf." Tolkien would never have approved because Tolkien was a Catholic, and therefore Tolkien would have automatically said that no homosexual can represent any of my characters. Who are you to say what Tolkien would or wouldn't have agreed with? Like, that's ridiculous to think that you can know what someone else would be. So I'm getting very tired of people trying to project their racism into criticisms of show. If an actor is bad, like if their acting is bad, that's one thing. But if their acting is good and your only criticism is because you don't like their skin color, that's two. I give you two of these, ladies and gentlemen. Two middle fingers to that. What's next on the agenda? Oh, we're already an hour in. These are normally 30 minutes long, so this is awesome. I haven't even gotten through the rest of this. So we've talked toxic Star Wars fan base. What else do I still have life, love, travel, multi-stream gaming, and beyond. Life, love, and travel. Let's do that really quick. Close that window. Life, love, and travel. We're not doing any traveling right now. We may do some traveling. However, now we have a bunch of babies, which makes travel a little bit difficult. And Chris even said the other day, she's like, as much as I love going and visiting family and everything else, we've done, Chris and I have been together for 13 years. We've been married for about half that, but we've been together for quite a while now. Since I first came to Mexico, basically. I met her about 6 months after I'd been here. Well, maybe less. It was like 4 months after I'd been here, I met her, and then we started dating. Um, so we've been together for a while now. And during that time, we did a lot of traveling, and I'm very blessed to have had a travel blog and a means of pursuing travel because a lot of people don't get to travel until they're old. And we were able to get that out of the way early on. It would be great to continue to travel, but I have no desire to travel right now because the COVID restrictions on travel are still way too stupid, you know. I'm triple vaccinated. If the fourth booster comes around here, because I've heard rumors that the fourth vaccination is starting to circulate. If the fourth vaccination comes through, I will totally go get the fourth vaccination because I don't want to get sick. I had COVID once. It was a horrible experience. I will definitely get my booster. But I don't want to travel, and I don't have a problem wearing a mask. I wear my mask everywhere that I'm asked to wear a mask. It's not a political agenda for me. I was wearing a mask before COVID because I have sinus issues, and so anytime there's smog or dust, I'll wear a mask. And every time it's flu season, I was always wearing a mask anyway, just to reduce germs. It's like if you've ever gone to Asia, people wear masks constantly. A lot of that's for the air quality in towns, but it's never been a political agenda to wear a mask. And so I don't have a problem wearing a mask. What I do have a problem with is the travel restrictions of being told that you're required to get a hotel here for 2 weeks and you're required to do this, that, and the other, and you got to get these 20 tests before you can get on a plane, and then you got to go these 20 tests when you get off a plane, and if any one of those tests fails, you're stuck in a quarantine hotel for 2 weeks, which costs thousands of dollars, and you don't get to control that because they don't allow you to choose the hotel. You're forced into a quarantine hotel. Like, travel is so restrictive right now that it costs a fortune. Also, lines. If you thought airports were bad before, airports are worse now. Flights being canceled at the last minute because all of this, that, and the other, and then you can lose all your, if you don't have travel insurance, you can lose all your No, I don't want to go through that. I really don't. So the idea of us spinning up marginal boundaries again and traveling for a living, and no, not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. We're very happy where we are right now. We did 10 years of travel with us, and we will continue it at a later date. But we're very happy. We just bought a house. Like, what are you supposed to do when you're nesting? It's time for nesting. Like, we bought our home in October. We moved here in March. We are very much now in the process of we're going to settle. The next 2 years, probably, we're going to be here. Obviously we will go up and do stuff with my brother and his family up in Missouri as often as we can. But Chris and I have talked about this, depending on the situation here, if we can get the nieces and sisters or whatever to come here and watch the cats and the chickens while we're gone, then we'll go, we'll both go. But if we can't both go, then I'll just go, which is kind of like my sister and her husband. A lot of the times when my sister goes and visits my family in Missouri, it'll just be her and the kids, and my brother-in-law will stay in Colorado because he's got work. So it's going to be that situation. As much as the kids might want to see Chris, Chris might not go to the U.S. the next time I go. She might just stay here and take care of the house and everything else. And I don't want it to be that way, but that's just life. Like, you can't always be, you know, we don't have kids, and so now we've got animals, which are like kids. They're different responsibility wise anyway. So we will continue to travel, but it's going to be a different type of travel in the future whenever we get back to it. Um, I was talking to the heads of T-Bex about maybe doing the T-Bex in Spain, and then this kept getting pushed back, pushed back. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to do it anymore. Um, I don't want to go and deal with airports and quarantine hotels and being around 650, 800 people who may or may not have creep and crud and all this. It's not worth it at the end of the day. It's a fun experience, and I get good stuff out of it, but it doesn't pay me enough to go through all that. Um, it's fun, but I can do other stuff that's equally fun and not have to travel and deal with the headache of travel. So our life right now is very much around this place. Um, the office is obviously mostly set up now, but obviously there's a lot of work here. Let me turn the camera. Like, documentation, right? This is the stuff you'll be seeing on marginal boundaries. Like, the house needs work. Like, that wall, they just painted this with like a water-based paint, and there's humidity outside, and so that the whole room needs to be repainted. I could show you the other wall. Like, that's that splotching. There's paint off the wall over here too. Whatever. That's like all that splotching. That's water damage, and that's because there's a leak in the plumbing in the wall. It's not a leak that requires us to, like, it's block. So it's not like wood construction where you have to be in a panic about it because it's going to rot your wood. But there's a leak in the wall, and so the moisture comes through. That's not getting fixed right away. That's a as we get time. So the first thing that was, we got the door installed, and we got all the house furnished, and we got a fridge and a microwave and beds and all the furnishings, and we got an air conditioner installed. I rewired the whole house. I didn't rewire the house. I hired electricians, but the electricians came in and rewired the whole house. Um, the carpenter is supposed to be coming back to start putting screens on all the windows and stuff. So those mosquiteros in Spanish for the mosquitoes and everything else. Chris needs to build her chicken coop. So all of this stuff, it doesn't all happen at once. And because this is not a high priority issue, because it's not like it's just flowing. It's these are old pipes and old connections, and um, they just need to be replaced because the people who lived here before and when it was originally built, it's 20 years old at this point. And when you use cheap materials, shit breaks down. Even if it's not cheap materials, my brother just had his house built like 3 years ago, and he just had a little water pipe in the ceiling of his basement burst, um, like a few weeks ago, and ruined all the sheetrock in his ceiling and down one wall into the laundry room. And he had to have the insurance company come out, and he had to file an insurance claim, and he's got drywall guys coming out and fixing all. That's a 3-year-old house, and he had that happen. This is a 20-year-old place, and that's happening. Things happen when you're a homeowner. So that's why we're not going to be traveling anytime soon because there's a lot of work that has to be done in this place, and we gotta. It's just going to be every month. It's like, what are we working on this month? Okay, this month is screens and chicken coop. Next month is new doors on the rest of the house. Next month is, you know, these are the little things that we go through. We're trying to get a garden going. We're dealing with the iguana population. We're having to. I've been pulling weeds like every 3 days because as much as that it would be pretty to have grass in the backyard, you have issues with snakes, scorpions, fleas, and other issues. So we're trying to keep the yard from having grass in all of it. We're strategically allowing grass to grow. So homeowner stuff, and so I can't be constantly traveling. So we're not going to be doing a ton of travel right now. All right. I'm going to do one more bio because my coffee's going through me. I'll be right back, and then we're going to continue into the latter third of the show, and then we'll wrap this up because I do have work today, and I got to go meet with Nathan and talk artwork and stuff. But I'll be right back here in a few minutes, everybody. Here's some music, so prepare yourselves for the BRB window. That's not the right window. That's this window. I was gonna do some Twitter stuff. I was gonna come here and read through Twitter. But by the way, this is a really cool poll. Which one do you like more, Greyhawk or Dragonlance? I definitely like Dragonlance more. Just as an FYI. We're gonna go through YouTube and Reddit. But you know what? I'm having fun just chatting, so and we're already an hour in, so we're just gonna continue and wrap this up, hopefully by the 1.5 hour mark. So it's been an interesting experiment doing this live. I'll tell you what, doing it live makes it a longer episode because instead of just following my show notes, um, I'm rambling about other stuff. Um, Dragonlance for sure, Sparrow. Indeed. All right. EverQuest 1, EverQuest 2, no arrivals. So the Discord has been growing a lot. So if you aren't already doing so, I would suggest that you join our Discord. There's a lot of stuff that happens there. Beyond just the gaming stuff, there's daily communication and all the other stuff people are sharing. Like Joe comes in and drops his music links. We get garden shots from Sparrow and Joe time to time. There's a book nook, a book corner. Gila was sharing stuff about his garden. We haven't seen Gila in a little while, so we need to check in on Gila. Um, you didn't read the other series? Well, the other ones didn't really have book series. They were just settings. So like Greyhawk was a setting and it had some novels, but Dragonlance was the first one that had like a whole series of novels that spun out from the setting. Um, I think Liam from Liam's Lyceum actually has done a pretty good job of like he's been going back and trying to read some of the novels for Greyhawk, and they're just not very good. Like comparatively speaking, they're not nearly as good as, you know, Dragonlance was the first experiment, and then they then decided they wanted to do another universe, and so they bought the rights to Forgotten Realms from Ed, and then they took what they had done with Dragonlance and they expanded it with Forgotten Realms because with Dragonlance they were tied to a single world setting. But Forgotten Realms allowed them to have multiple realms, and so it gave them a lot more opportunity for ways they could expand the stories and everything else because of all the dimensions and everything else. So Ed Greenwood's stuff became the basis for the next series. So it's interesting though their way of doing things was to purchase worlds from other writers because they purchased Dragonlance from Hickman, him and his wife. I always forget Tracy Hickman's wife's name because everybody's always it's Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss. Mm-mm. Margaret Weiss was just the co-author of the books. She did not create Dragonlance. Dragonlance was created by Tracy Hickman and his wife, and Margaret Weiss is not his wife. Um, but in any case, TSR back in the day bought Dragonlance from someone else, and they bought Forgotten Realms from someone else, rather than creating their own world in house. Um, Interesting stuff. Whereas what we're doing, this is all created in house. So I'm definitely going to look at having other writers come in and write novels, standalone novels in the world setting. But it's something that we created, for ourselves with Weave in the Void. So, but I'm not going to do that until after I've got the original book series out the door because I need to finish that book series before I can have other writers come in and do things and play around in my sandbox. Um, I kind of like the George Lucas approach too of